This is Charles Mathews. I am with MarkLives. Today, I have the great privilege of speaking to Norkor Duah. We're speaking brands and brands in Africa. Norkor, tell us a bit about yourself, about where you've come from.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. So who's Norkor Duah? Norkor Duah is a CEO foremost of the MullenLowe Accra agency and a group director of the Advantage Group. But from a personal point of view, I'm married with two children, two grandchildren, new grandchildren, but numerous adopted children who I feel proud to have looked after or continue to look after. I'm very family-oriented from a background of, could I say, royalty. My father was a chief of a clan, and therefore our upbringing was in a different vein because we were really instilled into core family values of being humble, being respectful, aiming for the best. I mean, treating everybody as though they were your brother or sister. So the cultural relevance of my background was extremely important. My background is advertising. I mean, I finished off school with art as a background of art, but then I had the opportunity of tasting advertising. This is like 3 decades ago, and I cling to it.
Why?
I saw ideas generated into reaching people. I saw creativity. I saw a fusion of rich culture and a message and a prompting to do something positive. So in those days, remember, you were in an agency that was 360. So it was called a full service agency. And that was Lintas in those days. And Lintas was Levers International Advertising Services. So the agency created the concept, they developed the material, they placed, they tracked, and they engaged. So you had the opportunity of exploring all the strengths available to you. So you could begin by being creative, but end on being strategy. I've evolved though, because from being pure advertising, I call myself a communication specialist now.
What are the big lessons that you've learned? Like, what are the big shining lessons that you've learned that really stand out?
We started in an era where it was all local. I mean, get the local insights and tell a story around the local. Then somehow the shift went to global, where there were hubs and strategy came from the center and you applied it. In addition to that, in as much as I saw the global evolution, the specialization came up because you were no longer a full service agency. You either were a creative agency, a media buying, an activation agency, or a research agency. So then it became more compacted and into different compartments. So it took away that whole 360 thinking that everybody got. It was all about the brand and the brand making it and the brand selling this and doing this, and the consumer effect gradually started eroding. And a pure example is when you say market in South Africa, okay, like a trading market where selling, where people sales are, it's different from a market in Ghana, okay? And therefore you can't sit in South Africa and tell me to create a campaign that reaches market women, because are we even talking about the same sort of market women? What drives a market woman here does not drive a market woman in South Africa. That's one of the key things. The second one was the whole media explosion. Let's engage, let's do activations, let's do consumer, things in market, in shops, in all that. So It started changing gradually to what we have now, which is a digital explosion. In all this, the agency has been the losers because it's always about revenue, it's always about big picture thinking, but global decides on what happens to you, and you either fit or you are lost. I mean, we have been lucky because we've been very entrenched in the fabric of Ghana, such that we lose some, we gain some, but we've tried to evolve and create opportunities that will make us relevant at every given time.
Tell me some of the things you did to stay relevant.
You know, a lot of development partners and global, like the USAID, the UKAID, all these groups, UNICEF, usually support Africa in a big way around family planning, around malaria, around all the health issues that saddle Africa and probably the different markets that what they call our third world countries. So each time there was an RFP, or each time there was a need to promote a campaign around good health or malaria or hand wash, we always came out with brilliant ideas that made it look different. Because in the past, it was all seen as government messaging and government campaigns. So if, for example, you were advertised or promoting family planning, you see an image of a man looking shattered with 6 children, all plucked together, sitting outside a hut. And then they'll be preached to and told, don't do this. You haven't planned your family, plan your family well. They don't relate to it, because remember that on the same TV that they are watching, a Coke ad would appear, a soap ad would appear, an insurance ad would appear. Everybody aspires to look good, and that's why most advertising and communication material are aspirational and lifestyle driven. So over the decades, we've been changing the face of health promotion. I think 4 years ago, we got to brand for Ghana, okay, using life stages and our learnings from branding to brand the whole platform of health promotion for the government. And this was funded by USAID. So we called it Good Life, Live It Well. Right. And therefore, Good Life was treated like you'd brand a normal, what they call everyday brand. It's got a brand architecture, it's got a brand book and a VI, and it's been very useful in promoting nutrition, wash, and with COVID coming, we used a part of it, which within the brand book is for tactical interventions such as we had on COVID, and therefore you run with it. And it's called social behavioral change communication. But it's a specialized area of communication that requires you to understand in absolute critical mode the behavior and the characteristic of the consumer you want to reach. What are their barriers? What are the drivers? And you need to situate it in a way that allows you to blend your brand background in the real world with what their expectations are and fuse it.
Tell us what your thoughts are about the representation of women in communications and in advertising in Africa, and why is it so important for you to champion the rights of women and to champion representation and the share of voice?
There are cultural undertones. There are issues that prevent women from moving forward because of the way things are structured. I mean, but in Ghana, though, I must say, because we had independence as far back as 1957, there are some trailblazers in terms of women who went into various professions, who stood out and actually made it possible for others to move on. I mean, there are studies that show that Ghana is one of the countries that is standing tall when it comes to women and all that. And I think in the marketing arena, we've had a good fair share of people who have risen to key positions. In as much as in an agency front, we haven't got strong, we haven't got enough at leadership role. Within the client and marketing, core marketing, we've got strong marketing directors. It's a question of the support and the ripple effect of women supporting women to make it happen. Okay, and women forming networks to make sure they can empower and pull others through. In my agency, for example, and it's the women deliver. And my deputy is a woman. I've got a few smart young women who are in the creative and who are in the strategy point of view, who I'm willing to mentor, you know? And so women in their responsibility and their roles as they climb up the ladder in leadership should be strong in pooling and mentoring, you know, because there's no textbook that is going to tell you what the formula is. Okay, the textbook remains with we women who have been privileged to run and lead the show to make sure that our formula is reflected in how many women we pull on board. What I hate to see, though, is that because of the massive transformation that the digital arena brings, we should be careful not to cut corners to go straight into buy into technology, digital space, and not getting down to the basics. Because, you know, you cannot lead if you don't understand the dynamics of the base and what the base stands for, okay, and what brands stand for. And because of the way the pandemic has happened, brand thinking has changed because now the consumers have a choice. They have the opportunity, they have evaluated their lives because they've been hit hard. So they're looking for partnership. They're looking for a brand that is for good, that would do good, that would touch them and personalize their requirements.
What does leadership mean to you? What does it mean to be a leader in this time?
I think it's going to be a tough arena, but it's going to evolve into ultimately something better than one expects. Because I think, first of all, leadership needs to have a vision. You need to have a clear vision and a roadmap on where you want to get to, okay? And then bringing people together. There's no point standing on an island without people, okay? And people should have trust in you. They should trust that what you're going to lead them to is worth coming on board. Then you need to embrace the spirit of trust, and true trust is critical. Trust to succeed. And then you need to have the entrepreneurial approach because if you don't have that, it doesn't work. My philosophy, and that of which we've created here, is when you create a concept, you create a future. It has to be driven by passion and efficiency. Because if you don't have that, it doesn't come through. And then finally, of course, resilience. Because you're going to fall, you're going to stumble and fall. And after you fall, what are you going to do? With a leader, the transformational change is critical. Sometimes you get still. Sometimes you feel like, oh, you know, how do I do it? But keep at it. Keep at it. You need to keep at it. There's nothing like failure. Failure has to be erased from the vocabulary for leaders.
Is purpose important to you? And what do you believe your purpose is?
Because I have been in advertising for so long, I've always seen consumers. I've always seen consumers who have, and yet seen consumers who are deprived, you know, and therefore there's always that urge to create and put hope and sell hope. So hope is what I like selling. Let's get to the basics and use it as a change mechanism to create or innovate to do better and target a much more systematic but relevant way.
It brings us full circle to what your dad said.
Exactly.
Make the world a better place.
Exactly. I mean, and it's always when the world comes together.
Yes.
You know, make the world a better place. It said, and what is the other doing right or not doing right?
Yes.
How do you make it better for them?
Yes.
You know, and that whole reason for us to exist is absolutely critical. Yes. And if Africa on our own can rise up and do ourselves good and support each other at it, we will be a great force that nobody can come near. We need to sell hope, we need to assure, and we need to be the backbone to create partnerships across the length and breadth of the continent.
Thank you, Norkor Duah, and I hope this is one of many hopeful conversations that we'll have going forward.
Thank you very much.